Hello, and welcome to day 20, lesson 28. Our learning topic for today, our learning target is I can solve word problems with line plots. Line plots being something you learned last year in third grade. And this year we're just going to take that, we're just going to take the data from our word problems, and we're going to put them on a line plot, which, if you notice, looks a lot like a number line. A number line, though, we have our dots, we have our points placed right on our number line. In a line plot, we're actually taking that data and we're actually showing it above there. So you can have more than one thing on a certain line. Like right here, this is actually divided into four, so we've got 2 and 3/4. We've actually got three people there. So rather than having a line plot, right, or a number line where I have one dot, this shows me I have three different people that did whatever this was calling. With a number line or line plot in this example, we've got a title, and we've got like what our x would equal, which this is just a made up one, so we don't really know what it equals. And this would be what we're actually measuring. That's why I put little squigglies. And if you're wondering why I am wearing a Santa Claus hat, it's because I asked Stella for a hat. I want to wear a hat today, and this is what she brought me. So, anywho, let's go on with our. So the first thing we've got here is we've got ourselves a story problem. Word problem, a story problem. This thing just tells a story. It says the chart to the right shows the distance fourth graders in Miss Smith's class were able to run before stopping for a rest. It says to create a line plot to display our data. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to just draw my line. So I start out by just drawing a line. Ignore those numbers there. I accidentally put those down already. But we just draw our line plot. Or number, what looks like a number line. Then I'm going to say, well, how far does this number line or line plot need to go? Well, look at my data I have up here. And I've got 2.5, 1 3/4, 2 1/8, 1 5/8, 2 5/8, 2 1/4, 2 2/4, 5/8, 2 2/8, and 2 4/8. So I know that the smallest number I have is Ginny, which is 0 holes and 5/8. So her number is going to be somewhere over less than 1 hole. And the largest number I have is actually Jack at 2 5/8. So Jack at 2 5/8, he's going to be greater than 2, but less than 3. And nothing here goes above 3. So that's why I've labeled this number, or this line plot, with starting at 0 and going all the way to 3. Because none of my numbers go below 0, the whole number of 0, and none of my mixed numbers go above 3 holes. Now, what we need to do after that is let's go ahead and let's just give this thing a title. So what kind of title should I give this? Well, I'll write this up here. Now that I've got that, I'm going to say, well, I want to say, so we're looking at the distance that fourth graders in Miss Smith's class ran. Let's just go this. We'll call this running distances. That's an ing, if I could spell. Distances of students in Miss Smith's class. So I gave it a title. Now, what were we measuring their distance in? Well, if I look at my chart, it says it right up here. I'll circle that in green. It says it right up there. Our distance is in miles. So we're going to say, just put down here at the bottom, distance in miles. All right, distance in miles. Next, what we're going to do is each plot, like we had on our example number or line plot, we had x's, and each one of those x's on there is going to equal a student. So now I've got my line plot labeled, and now I just have to go through and just put all my information, all these guys on here as an X on this number or this line plot. So the first one I'm going to start out with is Joe. And Joe ran 2.5 miles. So I know his number is going to be somewhere between 2 and 3. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to divide this 2 and 3. I'm going to divide everything. I'm going to divide it in halves. So if I divide this in half, that's going to be right here. Divide that in half. Well, let's go ahead and divide all of them in half. There's 1/2, 1 hole, 1 1/2, 2 holes, 2 1/2, 3 holes. And we know that Joe was up there, and I'll use a different color. Joe did 2.5 miles. So let's go ahead and give him a little X. Awesome. Our next student we're going to look at is Ariana. And Ariana ran 1 3/4 miles. 1 3/4 miles. Well, where's that going to go? Well, it's going to be more than 1, but less than 2. Well, I've only got to divide in halves. Well, if I want to, that means I'm going to have to divide all these up into fourths now, right? Because that's what my denominator right here says. So let's go ahead and divide these up into fourths. Well, if I've already got in halves, I can just divide those halves in halves. So now I've got fourths, right? 1/4, 2/4, or 1/2, 3/4, 1 whole. 1 1/4, 1 2/4, or 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2 wholes. 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, 3 wholes. But now that I've got it divided into fourths, let's go ahead and put Ariana there. She did 1 3/4 miles. So here's 1 1/4, 1 2/4, 1 3/4. So let's go ahead and give her an X right there. There's Ariana. Next, well, Bobby, he divided his mile up into even smaller units, or smaller pieces. He's gone ahead and done eighths. Well, I've got it divided by wholes divided into fourths. Well, I can divide those fourths. If I divide those fourths in half, that's going to give me eighths. So let's just go ahead and divide all these into half. There's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, or 1 whole. 1 1/8, 1 2/8, 1 3/8, 1 4/8, 1 5/8, 1 6/8, 1 7/8, 2 wholes. 2 1/8, 2 2/8, 2 3/8, 2 4/8, 2 5/8, 2 6/8, 2 7/8, 3 wholes. And notice a lot of these places already have different names. So now we're looking at Bobby, and he did 2 1/8 miles. So he went all over to 2 and just did 1 more eighth, and we'll put Bobby right there. Now, let's look at Morgan. Well, Morgan, she ran hers just like Bobby. She divided her miles into eighths. Well, she did 1 5/8 miles. So we go all the way to 1, and now we got to count over 5/8 miles. There's 1 1/8, 1 2/8, 1 3/8, 1 4/8, 1 5/8. So here is Morgan. Jack, well, he did 2 5/8 miles. So we jump all the way over here to 2, and we're going to count 5 more eighths here. So there's 2 1/8, 2 2/8, 2 3/8, 2 4/8, 2 5/8. Now we're to Saisha. Saisha did 2 1/4 miles. Well, now I just look, and 1/4 is the same thing as 2/8. So I here I go to the 2, because she did 2 whole miles, and then 1/4. So I'd go 1 1/8, 1 2/8, or 1 1/4. So let's put Saisha's mark right there. Let's look at Tyler. Well, Tyler did 2 2/4 miles. Well, if from here to here was 1/4, well, then we're going to skip one of these lines. That's going to be 2/4. Well, look, Tyler did 2 1/2 or 2 2/4 miles. So there's Tyler. Now let's look at Ginny. Ginny just did 5/8 of a mile. She didn't even make it to a whole mile. So start over here at 0, and we're just, because it's not going to be 1 whole mile yet. She's going to do 5/8. So we're going to 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. So that's where Ginny's going to go. Next we have Anson, and Anson did 2 2/8 miles. Well, didn't somebody else just do 2 2/8? Well, yes, they did. So Anson was right here. He did 1/8, 2/8. Oh, let's put him right there. And he's actually above Saisha. And finally, we've got Chandra. Chandra did 2 4/8 miles. So we go over to 2/8, and we're 2 wholes, and we're going to go 2 4/8. So we're going to go 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. Well, if you notice, 4/8 is actually the same thing as 2 1/2. Now, we have labeled our entire chart, and we're going to be able to use this information right here to answer our questions on the back side of this. So why don't you turn to the next page with me? And if you need to, I'll kind of stop for half a second, let you pause it to make sure you have everything filled in. And now we'll go to the next page. Problem number 2A says, who ran a mile farther than Ginny? Well, we need to look to see what Ginny ran. So I have to go back over that previous page, and I look, I say, well, what did Ginny run? So I look and find Ginny, and Ginny ran 5/8 of a mile. Well, who ran exactly one whole mile? What we did is we said 5/8 plus 1 whole is going to equal 1 5/8. And that was Morgan. Did I need to use my line plot for that? No, I didn't. I didn't really need to use that for that one because I'm really, in that case, I'm just adding. But some of them you will make it really helpful. The next one says, well, who ran a mile less than Jack? Who ran a mile less than Jack? Well, we need to see what, so whatever it is, whatever Jack did, we're going to subtract because it's less than 1 mile less than Jack. Well, Jack ran, how far did Jack run? Oh, Jack ran 2 5/8. So we're going to say 2 5/8 minus 1 whole. Well, I can just take that 1 whole away, and I can say, well, what's 2 minus 1? Well, that's 1. And it leaves me with a fraction right there. That's going to be 1 5/8. Well, guess what? We're again talking about Morgan. Morgan looks like she ran the same thing. We're talking about her twice. She ran in the middle between, who was it? Ginny and Jack. Next, it said 2 students ran exactly 2 1/4 miles. Identify the students and how many quarter miles did each student run. Well, the first thing, we need to identify our 2 students. So let's go back to our page, and we're going to look at 2 1/4 miles. So who ran 2 1/4 miles? Well, look right here, and we go 2 1/4 goes 1/8, 2/8, or 2/8 the same thing as 1/4. Well, who are these people that ran either 2 2/8 or 2 1/4? Well, I've got 2 1/4 with Saisha, and 2 2/8 is Anson. So we've got Saisha and Anson. So we'll put Saisha and Anson down there. Saisha and Anson. They both ran 2 1/4 miles. But it says how many quarter miles did each person run? Well, here's what we can do. This is when it's asking how many quarter miles, let's look anytime you see something in fourths, those are quarters. So let's look at Saisha. It said she ran 2 1/4. 2 1/4. Well, the easy way to find out how many fourths there are, let's just get mad at this problem. So we're going to get mad at it. Multiply 2 times 4, that's a multiplication symbol. 4 times 2 is 8. We're going to add 4 plus 1 is 9. And we're still talking about our fourths. Make it look like Christmassy, hence my hat. So what we're going to say is how many quarter miles? Well, they ran, a quarter mile is a 1/4 of a mile. They did 9 1/4 a mile, so it's going to be 9 quarter miles. Very good. Next, we've got problem D. What is the difference in miles between the longest and shortest distances run? Well, we look right here and we're going to say, well, the shortest distance we know was 5/8. That was Ginny. She ran 5/8. Well, how far? What is this one here? That's, well, 2 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5, 2 5/8. So all we're going to do is say we're take our longest distance run, which is 2 2/8. Or I'm sorry, 2 5/8. Make sure I said that right. 2 5/8. And we're going to subtract from it the shortest distance run, which, if we remember right, was Ginny, which was 5/8. And if I take away that 2 5/8, I take away that 5/8, it's going to leave me with 2 miles. See? 2 miles. Let's look at E. Now we're going to go back to when we were comparing numbers in the past 2 lessons. It says, compare the distances run by Ariana and Morgan using greater than, less than, or equal. Well, how far did Ariana run? Well, Ariana ran 1 3/4 miles. 1 3/4. And what did Morgan run? Well, we have Morgan up here. We can just look at the top here. Morgan ran 1 5/8 miles. If you remember from a previous lesson, I said, well, let's just compare these two numbers. Well, do they have the same whole numbers? Yes, they do. So you can kind of cross those out. We're not going to really worry about that. Now we're just comparing 3/4 to 5/8. Do they have the same numerators? No. Do they have the same denominators? No. But can I multiply my smaller denominator by any number to get to my larger denominator? Yes, I can. I can multiply that by 2. So let's just multiply that by 2. So we know that 4 times 2 is 8. And whatever I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So 3 times 2 is 6. And now I'm just comparing 6/8 to 5/8. And which number is bigger? The 6/8, or the 1 6/8. So what we would say is, you could say Ariana was greater than Morgan. But not by much, only by 1/8. Let's look at F. F says, Miss Smith, now she's getting in the game. Miss Smith ran twice as far as Ginny. How far did Miss Smith run? Well, remember, many paths lead to the same answer. We can either, if she ran twice as far, we can either take Ginny's 5/8 miles and add it. 5/8 plus 5/8 and equals 10/8. Because when we add fractions, remember, we add the numerators, but not the denominators if they're the same denominator. Or we could have said 2, which is 2 over 1, times 5/8. And remember, we just multiply our numerator times our numerator, denominator times our denominator. 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 8 is 8. And we get 10/8. But it says it wants me to write her distance as a mixed number. So all we have to do is we can do our cowboy method. Try my cowboy, give him a tail. And we've got 10 divided by 8. 8 goes into 10 one times. 1 times 8 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. And my new mixed number, I'll write it down here in green for you so you can see it, is going to be 1 whole and 2/8. And I'll circle it. 1 whole and 2/8. Now let's move on to G. G now brings Mr. Reynolds. We didn't even know he existed. Mr. Reynolds ran 1 3/10 miles. Use greater than, less than, or equal to compare the distances between Mr. Reynolds and Miss Smith. Well, we know what Miss Smith ran, so we're comparing Mr. Reynolds to Miss Smith. Mr. Reynolds said he ran 1 3/10. And we have got, 1 3/10. And we've got Miss Smith, and she ran, sorry about that, 1 3/10. And Miss Smith ran, we said she did 1 2/8 miles, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now we need to compare these. Do they have the same? They have the same whole number, so we can go ahead and we can really kind of cross that out. We're ignoring that. And now we need to compare 3/10 to 2/8. Well, this is going to be a little bit different because I can't multiply 8 by anything to get to 10, and I can't multiply 2 by anything to get to 3. Well, what if we just did this? And we had this in a problem previously. What if I just multiply this denominator, my 3/10, by 8, my other denominator of 8, and I multiply this denominator of 8 by 10? Well, let's just work this out. Remember, whatever I do to my denominator, I've got to do to my numerator. So if I multiply that by 8, I've got to do that by 8. So I'm going to end up with, we've got 10 times 8 is 80. And 3 times 8 is 24. I'm just going to rewrite this fraction over here. 24/80ths. And now this time, if I've got 8 times 10 equals 80. And whatever I do to my denominator, I've got to do to my numerator. 2 times 10 is 20. So now I'm comparing 20/80ths to 24/80ths. And now which one is larger? It's going to be what Mr. Reynolds ran. So who ran further? Mr. Reynolds. Yes. Excellent. Let's look at number 3. And number 3 should be fun. Number 3 is up for you to do. And on your homework page, it'll be the exact same way. It says, using the information in the table on the line plot, develop and write a question similar to those above. Solve, then it would, okay, work with partner. All I want you to do is you can take that information from over here and write a problem out. If you want to compare to and say you want to use less than or greater than or equal, go for it. If you want to use an addition or subtraction problem, go for it. That is up to you. I'm just going to judge on your creativity. Well, I'll let the camera stay on this page for right now. There's your problem set. I hope this information has helped. You can use this and the other side to help you out with your homework. So on that note, you all have a nice night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.